On December 16, 1985, my mother was killed. A bullet pierced her head and brain. According to eyewitness, three armed men accosted her while she was on her way to the rice mill. She had just come back from the bank. They grabbed her bag, pushed her down the canal, and then shoot her. The killers fled on board a car. She was still alive when I arrived in the emergency room. Blood was oozing her head. She was gasping as I helplessly watched her die. All I could do was to anoint her and entrust her to God's loving grace. She died at exactly 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Ramon Fruto and Louis Hichanova stood beside me and touched my shoulder. Ramon asked me if I was okay. I went out to the hospital without feeling anything. No anger, no sadness, no sorrow. I could even not cry. My main worry was how to break the news to my papa. I immediately went home and told him what happened. He started crying, calling out Mama's name. I put my arms around his shoulder. Dr. Yanez and Aunt Sally arrived and took his blood pressure. It was 200/100. They were worried that he might have a stroke. They gave him some medication and stayed behind to console him. Late in the afternoon, I went to the funeral parlor. And Mama's body was on the table in the morgue. And the embalmer told me that they had to wait for a few hours before embalming her body and placing it in the coffin. So I was left all alone for a half and gazing at Mama's body. Her face looked serene in spite of the bullet hole in her head. I came closer and kissed her forehead. When I went back to the monastery, Latin, a leader of the charismatic movement, expressed her condolence to me. He said, "It's God's will. You'll have to accept the will of God." I answered, "No, I don't think it's God's will. I was simply revolted by the idea that Mama's death was God's will. I could not accept this kind of theology." On January 24, 1986, we celebrated the 40th day after Mama's death. Many came to pray and celebrate with us. It was our final goodbye. Papa told me that the man who killed Mama and recently been identified, all of them were killed by the police during a shootout. They were all part of the gang composed of Philippine constabulary soldiers who were engaged in armed robbery. The police had received the call that there were 3 men inside the house of the Delistas. The police encircled the house. They killed the 3 men, and when they checked their identity, they turned out to be the members of the Philippine Constabulary. It was later confirmed in the ballistic test that the .45 caliber pistol found in one of the corpses was the gun used to kill Mama. My cousin Nika said These were the same men who were hanging around the store a few days before Mama was killed.